All right, guys. So what we're going to do today is we're going to prove the theme of the Veldt. So if you look on your screen, you can see that the theme of the Veldt is that relationships within a family can suffer when people rely too much on technology. A lot of you guys did a fantastic job of coming up with a really similar theme to that yesterday. But just for the sake of making everyone's life easy, this is the one that we're going to work with right now. So relationships within a family can suffer when people rely too much on technology. Now, what you're going to do next is you're going to look for parts that prove that theme. And we're going to do this with what we call just like an analysis. That's just the steps we're going to walk through. So the first thing I want you to notice is that I've underlined some key universal ideas here. So relationships, family, and technology are all really important universal ideas in this. So I'm going to start with, we've already kind of divided the story up into 3 parts. So that's what we're going to look at today. So the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I've done part 1 for you. So the very first part of the story. If you notice, I begin with the context. All right. So this is the beginning of the story, and this is the summary of it. That's something we've been practicing as well. So I say in the beginning of the Veldt, the Hadley parents are upset by the time that their children spend in their virtual reality nursery, a place that allows them to travel anywhere they want. The reader begins to realize that it is not just the children, but also the parents who have allowed the technology of the house to take over all parts of their lives. So that is the summary of that first part. Then I move on to the evidence. So I find this line. In the story, Lydia Hadley tells her husband the house is wife and mother now and nursemaid. So if you notice on the evidence part, I have my evidence stem. That's all this part right here. And then I have my citation. That's this part right here. And then this is my evidence. The house is wife and mother now and nursemaid. So that's a line taken directly from the story. Now I needed to find a line that supports this theme. Relationships within a family can suffer when the people rely too much on technology. So I see here Lydia Hadley literally suffering because of her family, her relationship within her family, and suffering because of the technology. Now, my job here is to make an inference. All right, so this is the step where I kind of fill in as a reader what's happening here. So I say, at this moment in the story, Lydia's upset because she feels that the technology in the house has replaced her within her family. Notice that I've used some of these same universal ideas, technology and family, and I've pointed those out by bolding them and underlining them here. And I'm explaining what's happening in this moment here. Then for our step 4, the analysis. So I say this is significant to developing the theme because the reader begins to sense that technology has truly disrupted the relationships within the family. Again, universal ideas. Also notice that this isn't necessarily like I'm not using story specific words, which is something that we've been talking about. I'm talking here about in general, how is this showing the theme? Because we see the technology is disrupting the relationship within the family. We've seen that the technology has ruined her role, her perceived role as wife, mother, and nursemaid in the family. Bradbury is trying to show readers that it is possible for a family to rely too much on technology and let technology take over roles that should belong to humans. So again, how is this proving this? That's what I'm doing in the analysis. But if you again notice, I'm not using story specific words here. I'm using very general open words, and I'm connecting to the universal ideas as many times as I can. You're going to do the same thing. If you're in my virtual class, you're going to do it on the slides. So you'll notice in the middle of the story, so basically part 2, you're going to give me a summary of it. I've already found the evidence for you. Then you're going to give me the inference, and then you're going to give me the analysis. If you're in my blended class, you're doing this on the worksheet that you've been given. So the sub has that for you. If you're at the end of the story, all right, so this you're doing all the parts. Remember, though, that regardless of which part you're at, beginning, middle, or end, we're still trying to prove this same theme. That doesn't change. We're proving how it's seen at the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the end of the story. So for the end of the story, you're going to give me a summary of what's happening in this last third of the story, an piece of evidence that includes evidence stem, the evidence, and the citation that proves this theme, an inference, and then your analysis. And notice I've still given you, for both the middle and the end of it, I've given you the sentence stems that you need. So this is significant to developing the theme because Bradbury is trying to show the readers that And then you just fill in those parts right there. Remember, this doesn't need to have story specific words. All right. This is where we are looking more at the lesson about the message right here and less focused on what's actually happening in the story. All right. Email me if you have questions while you're working. You've got this.